to review. My suggestion is just tear down all the old brick, brand new building, model building. Everybody wants a model building, nice, and build to maximum FAR. Plus the bonus for the community service, I think additional bonus. We need a professional architect to figure out how high we can build. We're gonna build maximum high for community service. Like I would say, for community service, that's mean art performance, show, school, educational, and the senior service. Not necessarily is a senior center, but anything for senior service and community service. We want to unite it as one plan, one idea. We want a brand new building, model buildings, and everybody enjoying with the elevators, high ceiling, the basement, and a high ceiling for the first floor and second floor, because it's easy for our performance. Okay, this is my idea. We have to make it quick. We cannot just back forward meetings after meetings, don't get a result. We want a result as soon as possible to build up this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Does anyone else want to speak now, or should we go back on mute? Mr. Sang. Mr. Sang would like to say a word or two.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Sang, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Xiaowai Sang. Today I will be presenting for the rebuild the 70 Mulberry building, and I will present it to the Chinese Cultural Art Association we found in the 1993. I'm Chinatown, the board of the bid, and the board of the director of the CPLDC2. I have the jewelry store in Chinatown and since 1971, Golden J Jewelry. With the long time I stay in Chinatown, many years, we know the building has not been used and lived there for 30 years. Now we have the chance to get the mayor to funding for the $80 million to rebuild the building. That's a great news for our community, and it's so important to do with our Chinatown area to develop the next generation. And since the last time we had the Zoom meeting, I know very well about the 70 Mulberry to rebuild it, and I could talk all to my neighbor, my friend. They all agreed to rebuild the building. We can use in the community, like the opera theater, and the culture center, and the business convention, small convention center. They have small business, have the trading space, and we can use this space for mobile use. And that's so important for our community to continue for next generation and next century to make a Chinatown improvement. Thank you.
Thanks for
We
sharing.
keep going on and on. We do have, I don't want to take, can we have one more speaker and then we'll put it on mute? Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
When we're not addressing the community asset mapping exercise.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm going to, yes, but let's let William speak. This is William Su, please.
Hi, yeah, my name is William Su. I'm originally from Burma, but I'm a Chinese. We really do need the Chinese multicultural, because the whole community, with the Asian, we have a lot of people from from Burma and Malaysia, and Vietnam, and all over the Asia. So, and then my, personal opinion, and would like to get this building, we get it done as soon as possible. It's easier, to bring it down, and we started from the scratch, and with the elevator, with the multicultural use, that would be the idea. And I hope the sooner we can get this open, and we like to attract more Chinese young, the next generation coming back to Chinatown, more to to build up the Chinatown. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
I think for the moment we'll go on mute, but just to summarize regarding mapping, we strongly support cultural uses, artistic uses, performance space. That is what this group of community leaders and association leaders supports. I'll go on mute now.
Thank you. Anyone wants to share about the existing? Yeah.
So this question is about community asset mapping. So the question is, what other resources are there in the community? I grew up in Chinatown. I've been at CCBA for like 15 years. I went to PS 130, went to 65, etc. I'm also a professional architect, so I also want to address the gentleman who just spoke about the need for this maximum FAR. If we can do maximum FAR within the existing FAR, then the time frame will be fine. But if we go beyond that, then there's the whole ULUP process, which will take longer. And having a modern building does not mean knocking down the existing building. And as to existing resources in the community, CCBA has a gym, it has an auditorium, it has classrooms. The question is whether it's a private organization or whether it will be sharing with the community, because it could be programmed during different days. For example, it could provide a home for all these homeless organizations because they have enough resources. But I think this will take a generational change. Having grown up, I'll just say I'm close to 60 years old, and the mentality about sharing, and everyone is very, how should I say, separated by either region or language, etc. There needs to be sharing, and I think that the CCBA building is one of the buildings that can be shared with the community. That's my 2 cents.
Anyone wants to share more?
Hi, my name's Amy. I am from the United East Athletic Association. I'm not from Chinatown. I'm from Brooklyn actually, but I volunteer at the United East Athletic Association. So I'm not sure about what are the existing assets in other buildings in Chinatown. But what I can say is the previous building that was burned down, it had high ceiling, and that is one of the things that I think we can leverage against, because we are an athletic association where we do lion dance and all those lion dance, and it's really important for us to have the height to able to do that activity. Another thing is it would be good if there's some sort of soundproofing within the system, because lion dance, as you probably know, that we have drumming going on. Yeah, so that's my idea in terms of what the building can, the future building might be better with that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is June. And thank you for facilitating tonight. I agree with what Shirley said. Unfortunately, as much as I believe CCBA is a private entity, and though they have a gym and they have classrooms, I believe they are used for their own private, they have their own school. So they're not readily available for the community or the public to use. Having said this, if there's an opportunity for 70 Mulberry to build a gym or recreational space, that would also become another area that the community can come to. As to the building, it was said many a times, the 5 organizations that are currently homeless are looking to get back as soon as possible. With the talk about, you know, nursing homes and building hired, et cetera, that's going to pull this process longer and longer. These 5 organizations need to have a space so they can continue to serve the community. Right now, being homeless is not an easy thing. And I'm speaking as someone that's representing United East. So in answer to this exercise right now, I really don't think there's much existing resources out there that address many of the needs right now. The other organizations, the other homeless organizations are either trying to rent space elsewhere or some generous donors who are giving them space, but we don't in our community have facilities or space or this kind of resource to address these many needs.
Thanks for sharing. Anyone wants to share more on the existing resources? Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Carolyn Ratcliffe. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the Vice President of the Lower East Side Preservation Initiative, and I'm covering for Richard Moses, who has been here in the past representing the organization. We are concerned about the cultural identity of Chinatown and would prefer to have the building, the existing 2 floors restored and then built on top of it and within the existing FAR. The cultural programming is really important to Chinatown and has a lot to do with the identity of the community and to provide that resource. The acquisition of a new building from the ground up is more time consuming and more expensive than it would be.
There's some background that's preventing.
Yeah, somebody's background, it's not mine. Okay, it is less expensive and greener to keep the 2 existing floors and have the interior renovated and remodeled to modern standards than it is to have new construction and rip the whole thing down. Okay, if you rip the whole building down and start a new construction, that's going to really impact on the adjacent buildings, as well as be more expensive and costly in the long run and take longer than it would be if you rehabbed the 2 ground floors and built on top of them. So that is Leslie's opinion. The other thing is we feel like 70 Mulberry represents a very special place in the heart of many people in Chinatown, and that to totally remove it is something that's detrimental to the cultural history of the community. The other thing about it is also to consider is if you're trying to put a super tall building on that site, you're going to impact on Columbus Park as well. The other thing that needs to be checked out before you get into the height and weight of a new building is what is underneath the existing building, because the park is sitting on the edge of what was Collect Pond, which was a large 60-foot deep pond in the center of Manhattan. That's why they have that fountain in the middle of the court thing, but it's just something that you do need to take into consideration before you go into the thought that if you just rip the existing building down and start to excavate for a new building, that there may be issues with that on the surrounding buildings. So it's something to keep in mind.
I'm going to pipe in here for a second. Carolyn Ratcliffe, I agree with your sentiment because I worked on the Grand Street stair, and next to the Grand Street stair, there was a 3-story building. It had rubble foundation. So it was the late 1800s. So if we knock down the building and have to dig out the foundations, we're going to have pile driving. We're going to damage all the buildings that are next to it, and the soil is not going to be able to hold up this high rise. I think that we should leave this idea because it'll take much longer and it will be more detrimental to have, I don't know, a 20-story building, a 12-story building. Yes, we want to maximize it and build it as much as possible, make all this money, but it's not going to be conducive to building, because I have renovated 60 subway stations in the city, and I'm doing large mega projects right now. I'm fixing Penn Station. I just want you to understand that there is nothing that precludes keeping the existing facade, fixing it up, and building a modern building inside it.
Thank you. That's something that we're totally in agreement with from the Lower East Side Preservation Initiative.
I totally agree with you too. This is June.
Okay, hello, everyone. I'm going to jump in. We've been having some discussions amongst ourselves. And generally the consensus here amongst our group, and we are representing a number of different associations here, is that we believe that the building should be, with all respect, we're going to disagree, should be completely demolished and completely rebuilt. Demolished and rebuilt. That's what we want.
Right.
All right, that's the consensus from everyone here. We are also generally in consensus that we want to go up to the maximum height allowed, and we want to try to avoid the ULURP process, recognizing that would be a extremely time-consuming, difficult process. So
Also,
again,
let me say the next to the park was a detention center, was a 30-story high. So next to the park, what the lady talking about? Next to the park was a detention center, jail, 30-story high. So we're looking for maximum FAR to build up brand new model building for the community. No question about it, okay? We're not gonna argue with the old building, keep the old building. We have a 2000 old Chinatown building, all right? Enough old building. We want a model and enjoy the old people, the young people come in Chinatown to enjoy the building, enjoy the facility.
we do agree with that, and I'm sure other people don't, so there might be some disagreements, but that is our general consensus. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'll put us back on mute. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I know like all of your idea here, and I have all recorded and write it down. Yeah, so I would like to know who else want to share about what are the existing resources addressing this need. Also, what are those services that are already available to the community and the future building might can build upon or as a complement. So who wants to share more?
Hi,
Hi, Anne.
Judy. I appreciate that you're trying to do this asset mapping, but the conversation is not going in that direction. And I would just like to respond to the boys club on the Zoom there. I am genuinely very interested in hearing, well, first of all, my name is Yen Kong. I'm the director of Think Chinatown. I'm a resident and also an architect by training. I also agree that we should build to the maximum FAR, and what our studies have shown is that the usable square footage for the maximum FAR built as right is more than double the space that was available at the original building. And so we've also in our studies found that the building time to rebuild on top of historic facade would actually be shorter than to demolish and rebuild by half a year. Meanwhile, all the requirements of ADA compliance, all of that would still be able to happen while still preserving the historic facade that is still available. So I feel like there is not actually a conflict of interest in keeping the historic facade and building to the maximum FAR without getting into ULURP. So I guess I'm questioning why would they want to spend more time in construction to demolish and rebuild to the same effect with the loss of a historic treasure of our neighborhood? I agree there are a lot of old buildings in Chinatown, but not one specifically like that. And I'm just curious as to why they've made the decision to spend more time with demolition and then construction to achieve the same amount of usable square footage.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's agree to disagree agreeably. We're all friends, and we're definitely not a boys' club. Cindy and Amy, could you stand up, please? We have two ladies here with us, and these are not just ladies. This is Amy Lim and Cindy Fu.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Cindy. So we just haven't heard from you yet, so I've only seen the men speak.
But we're definitely not a
Maybe
boys'
one
club.
of Cindy, can you explain why you want to spend more time in construction to demolish and rebuild to the same FAR as if we would if we kept the historic facade?
Yes, I believe when they demolish, right, and then rebuild, right, will be quicker, just a remodel. So remodel sometimes takes a very, takes time delay.
So we've actually consulted experts in historic architecture, and they said it actually takes less time if we keep the historic facade and build on top of that. It's actually a half year shorter amount because you don't have to spend time to demolish and remove the material. So it actually is quicker.
It's more than half a year, at least a year.
There you go. It's actually faster if you keep the historic facade. So there is no truth in that it would be faster if you completely demolish. Is there any other reason?
But if we have a budget, right, and we do, can build up full, maybe if you just remodel, right, probably you cannot build that.
We actually can build up to 9 floors. So we can maximize the usable floor area.
I thought we talking about, I'm sorry, my name is Amy Lim.
Hi, Amy.
I thought we were talking about the maximum is 12 floors.
So in our studies, it is 9 floors with a setback. I can send you also the studies, but you can still maximize the FAR as of right while utilizing the historic facade without compromising any sort of modernization of the interior. And we also have Shirley here, who I'm sure has a lot to say, who's actually an expert in this field.
Right. What you can build, you can use new steel inside the building, and using the facade, it will hold up because you're sitting on the existing foundations, which are already in the ground. So it's basically putting the feet of the building are already in the ground. So you're just putting a new building on the same feet. And as a result, you can still put a building inside the building without knocking it down. It's perfectly structurally sound. And so that's what we're saying here. It'll take more time to excavate and drive piles deeper in to hold up a bigger building to get a new foundation. So, we've built buildings over the tracks on Hudson Yards. It takes a long time. So what we're saying here is you can get exactly what you want, which is a brand new building inside the existing building with a maximum FAR up to 9 stories. So you can have, I can say, like, you can even have an outdoor terrace up on top with tall spaces for the dancers to be in. And maybe you keep the senior citizens down on the ground floor so they can exit out because there are more assembly spaces. So you can figure out how to lay out the building. But I think it would be very difficult to try and, how should I say, you think that it's faster to knock down the building. It's not faster to knock down the building. That's all I'm saying.
So I
you,
just have a question.
everyone.
Besides
Sorry.
speed, is there any other reason why you want to demolish the building?
I'm gonna try to keep us on mute while other people are speaking because we can get loud. Robert, you wanted to say something? Okay, I'll let the girls club sit for a minute and the boys club will talk again. Good, Robert, good.
Hi, yes, my name is Robert Chen. I'm the founder of American Asian Culture Center of Chewbacca. I'm the founder of the company. After September 11, I decided to serve the community for the past 17 years. And I think that the community that really deserve the culture center. What I recommend, like earlier, the first day of the meeting, that we need a place for our senior, because everyone sit at home so long, you wait and wait and wait, and people cannot wait, you know, because they're getting old and they need to have a place to share. So I think that if we, you know, I help the kids and the senior to teach them how to make film and also music, teach how to do, you know, performing music, you know, and singing and dancing, and basically specialize in music and film. So I think that, you know, the senior that they deserve have a theater like Broadway, and, you know, enjoy themselves and share with the people in there. And then the people come and hang out, a place where they can hang out together. I think that's most important. In terms of the 9-story or 12-story whatsoever, I think that's up to the architect. If the architect allow to build 12-story high, I think we should go for 12-story high. I don't think it's a good idea just to build the way it is. I think it's like demolish first and then rebuild the whole thing. It's much cleaner, and then you can build the elevator, because the senior cannot walk from the step to 9 floors, you know. So people, it's not practical. I believe that you knock it out and then build the elevator, and then it's really good for the senior. You know, I think they can have a dance, they can have a playground, or they can have a theater for themselves. You know, so that's what I'm concerned. You know, so
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I have a question for you. It is, I totally understand and agree with all the needs and use of space, including an elevator. But besides speed, of why would you want to, because we have said that we can build to accommodate all of those needs while preserving the historic facade. We have architects and engineers telling us we can build faster to achieve the same programming needs and spatial needs. So why do you want to demolish the existing facade?
Okay, let me jump in, and I believe that we've got a group here of
Sorry, can somebody answer my question, please?
I promise I'll get to that, and I will. So, you know, come on, be nice, we'll get there. Again, we can agree to disagree agreeably.
No, I'm just asking why. I'm just trying to understand what we are disagreeing on.
Let me try it again. Again, we've got a group of community leaders, business people, landlords. We live and work in Chinatown. Where I'm standing right now is a block away from 70 Mulberry. I live a block away from 70 Mulberry.
I'm also a block away.
Good, but I'm a lawyer. I'm not a construction worker. I'm not an architect. And so I don't know what's faster. We believe that a demo and a full rebuild is faster based on our observations. If you can show us that it's quicker to not do that and cheaper to not do that, you may very well convince us. But right now,
great.
Right now we're taking.
Okay, no.
Thank you.
And Judy, this is why I think it is so essential, and this is why I have asked DCAS from the beginning that budget and timeline is needed before these community engagement outreach, because we are making decisions off of misinformation. And this is a very big problem. If we are agreeing that we want to build to the maximum space with the current as of right use, I think this is something we're both agreeing on. We're both agreeing that we want the fastest way to get in there, right? And we are agreeing that we want the best building for our community to accommodate all of these programs. But the problem is there is not the information out there that is telling the public that it is actually faster to achieve that by using the historic facade, which is what we have found through our research, because DCAS has not provided us that. And so now we're having this conversation based off of misinformation, and that people are assuming that demolition is faster to rebuild, when that is not necessarily the case. And now we're working off of misinformation, Judy. And this is, like, unfortunately, your amazing, presentation for this workshop. It's really hard to work with that because we're not working on the same basis of information.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate this open discussion, that everyone's voice be heard, and I'll make sure this message and thus be delivered to the.
We're gonna go on mute for a second. We're gonna have a discussion amongst ourselves and then come back in, okay?
Okay, thank you. So I will make sure all of this message be delivered to the DCAS, and I'll let them know to provide more information on the both side to everyone. And
Amy, this sounds like litigation here. I mean, we're having a discussion, or is this like litigation? Lawyers and community leaders
I love how they
trying
said,
to.
I'm not an architect, but I think this is what's happening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for being here and providing your expertise. I've never met you in person before, but thank you.
Yeah, I grew up in Chinatown. I can speak Chinese to them too if they want. But it's not about us versus them. It's about what is appropriate for the community, right? I think we should put the seniors on the ground floor, put the dancers on the upper floors, somewhere have offices in between, or maybe some atria or some community center spaces all along the way for different groups, and somehow maybe certain groups can share certain multifunctional spaces at different times. I mean, I'm sure the programming can get to that point, and we'll have elevators throughout, and the question is whether we need to use stairs as a way of communicating between the floors, a la the Cooper Union building. So it depends on how the stairs and et cetera, elevators are all going to lay out, and how much lighting are you going to get to the inside spaces. Those are the things we should talk about, rather than should the building be knocked down. I think that if we can get past the point that the building should not be knocked down, then we can get the community focused on what goes into it and how can we make it the best building possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe that even though it looks like people have different perspective and those tour the building, but I believe that it's all based on everyone wants additional spaces. So yeah. So to the next one, we all know that everyone agree on having additional spaces, either for multiple groups and having multiple purpose space. So we would like to know in this activity, like how many additional spaces that might be created through the rebuilding process and might be used. So I'm gonna share some information that we got from the previous community meeting, or the research, or the letters from the survey. So there are some future scenarios within the community. There are a community resource center. There might be an arts and cultural hub, or a learning and networking center, home for low-income groups, a health and wellness centers, and then a local business hub. So based on that, we would like to know if you can choose 2 out of the 6 scenarios, that would be your preference to fill any potential additional space resulting out of this building and out of this rebuilding process. And we would also like to know, why have you chosen this 2, and how do you see your scenario complement existing service offered either through 17 Mulberry Street or in the immediate. So anyone wants to go first by choosing 2 scenarios and the reason?
I think that we should try and have some health services for the community. For example, if the seniors need services, and I'm just going to use an example, they need to fill out forms to get Medicaid, or they need someone to help because someone's not getting proper health plan or food, or etc. We should have like services for them, and we also can have studios or arts and crafts. Like we can have a studio that makes pottery, or I don't know, maybe pottery will need stoves, etc. Something that they can have crafts that other cultural groups can use, and not just the senior citizens, that it could be shared. Like, they have a kitchen, then we have studios, we have social services, and then we have services for the young folks, maybe up on top, and maybe in the middle we have some business incubators. So that was kind of my idea. I mean, the arts and cultural can be integrated into the services by having shared spaces, because not everyone's going to be in the building at all times. So we should have a clock to figure out who's going to be in the building at what time, and then how to, for example, I'm going to use an example. Let's say the senior citizens go home at night. Then at night, the dancers can come and use the spaces that the seniors, use during the day. And then like same thing with the studios, like the studios are arts studio used by the seniors during the day, and then at night, other community groups can use the studios. So that I was kind of thinking that you can program it based on time as well as based on use.
That was Shirley, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Shirley. I think that normally, I mean, in an ideal world, that would work. But based on the organizations, the existing organizations that were in 70 Mulberry, for instance, the senior center that was on the first floor, in response to your suggestion about, having people assist seniors, for any kind of questions or forms, the senior center already do that for them. So they have social workers there that helps them with these kind of needs. In terms of sharing space, that's probably not possible when you talk about like a senior center, because they already have their own setup on a regular basis. They have a kitchen, or they have the tables all laid out in terms of, the dining room and all of that. So in the existing, space before the fire, there would be no way that can be a shared space, nor with any of the other organizations that were there already. So for instance, CMP, that provides vocational training, they have classrooms with embedded equipment. So for computers and things of that, and in terms of just data itself, it can't be open to other people to share per se. So I think given, depending on
you could have private uses for certain offices, but somehow in order to make maximum use of the building, you still should have some spaces. I'll use example, a gym that the dancers could use, as well as a gym
correct.
at different times. But some of the smaller spaces, yes, you can lock them up, but there should be some programming for spaces that could be shared, because that way you can get more organizations into the building. Otherwise, if everyone said, this is mine, I'm not sharing, and then it's not used from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, then it takes up more space that no one's using.
Like I said, in an ideal world, that might work, but you got to bear in mind, even though these are nonprofits, they're still a business, quote unquote, a business, right? So would you let somebody, an outsider, come in to access your business space? I agree that there should be common space. So if the building can be, I don't know, additional floors, we should look at those additional floors to see what we can put in those floors. But those existing tenants that had space in there, number one, they pay rent too. They pay rent for their space, okay? So it's not free. So any additional floors that are going to be built, then let's look at those space and see how we can best utilize those space, right? Whether it's a common space or, a share space, what have you. But I just want to put that out there because I think it's a great idea to share. But when you have, like say United East, we have one room, but we have all our stuff in one room. I can't possibly open the door unless somebody else come in the evening or whatever time, because who is going to be responsible or the contents of those things, the properties within that space. So to just think like that, just think if that was your office, would you be opening up your office? And would you have to pack everything up at, at the end of the evening so that other people can share your space? So there's not going to be opportunities like that, but the opportunity for shared space comes, I believe, if we're able to build additional floors. And look at those additional floors and see how you would fill other organizations in there or other, recreational space. So I'm just saying that the existing tenants that are there are not going to be able to share their space in the way that you suggest.
Okay, let me jump in.
Thank you for sharing, Mary.
I have my hand raised and I asked to speak.
All right, we'll raise our hand next. I'll go on mute.
Okay.
Judy, did you see me in the chat? I'm with my hand raised.
Yeah. Gloria, right?
No, this is Professor Ava Chin.
Oh, sorry, Ava Chin.
Oh,
no problem. So I also want to throw my hat behind an arts and cultural hub or a cultural center because that is something that the community really needs, that kind of a space, which could mean a multitude of different things, right? It could be a multi-purpose, affordable space that is utilized by people to use as a gallery. Maybe they want to use it as a performance space, but it should be multi-purpose. And I think that this is something that Shirley was touching upon. June, just to throw an example out, the Asian American Writers Workshop, which is in the 30s in Midtown, what they do is they rent out the whole space, but their office spaces are locked on the sides, but there is a central space that can be rented out and utilized for other people. I think you're absolutely right. If you have just one large space and everybody's work desks are there, you want it to be secured. But if it was a multi-purpose space from the beginning, that's something that could be worked out. So I do think that some sort of arts and cultural center that is affordable and can be used by folks in the community would be incredibly helpful. There is no affordable space in Chinatown for something like in the 1970s, we had Basement Workshop, right? We have no affordable space that can house a multitude of different kinds of artists, artists who might want to do residencies, right? Performing artists who want to do residencies, that kind of thing. So I think that we can talk, I think the idea of a theater came up. That's a kind of a larger project, right? Where do you store things? But it's certainly true that with the exception of the space at CCBA, which is not accessible and is not a performance space that's open to the public, Chinatown does not have that. And traditionally, going back 100 years ago or over 100 years ago, Chinatown did have that. There were so many theaters that existed in the neighborhood. And I'm not just talking about the theater that was on Doyer Street, the Chinese theater. There were other theaters that were like along the Bowery.
There was Sun Sing, and then there was I forget the other one.
Exactly.
Music Palace, Pagoda.
Music Palace and Pagoda, right?
Yeah.
So if we could have something like that, that would be fantastic. And if there's any way to, I am for keeping the footprint and not adding too many extra floors. But if you stay within the Euler process or the floor area ratio process, sorry, I'm not an architect like Shirley, but I think you can build up at least a couple of more floors, and it would be the potential for having this kind of arts and cultural space would be available. And I think it would be a fantastic addition to the community because the community needs that. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Let me jump in, and Professor Ava Chin, our group completely agrees with you. Yay, we have consensus. We agree that we should go up to the maximum height, that we do not have to do the Euler process. So up to wherever we can go, maximize it. And yes, the arts and cultural, we completely agree. June, we do note your concerns about policing the community space. And yeah, that's what lawyers are for. We have one question though. Our group wants to bring this back annoyingly to the beginning. If we use the current foundation and we do not completely demolish, can we go up to the maximum height? How high can we?
Yes.
Yeah,
We really,
absolutely.
9
Yes.
stories.
yes, I forget who said this earlier, but we really are lacking information here on this really essential question. How high can we go without a demo?
So
I'll be back on mute. and
Ed, before you go away, I just dropped into the chat for you and your group, Ed. Sorry, Ed, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I chat into your chat.
We'll mute because we can loud. So we'll unmute, but we're listening.
Okay, so I dropped into your chat the credentials of an expert that has created a report for us because DCAS was not able to. So I hope you and your group can review this document, and there's also a video of him explaining the document. I sent you both links. Please review this process before you give your opinion of whether or not you want to demolish. And also, if you have further questions, I am happy to help with research and find other experts that can answer your question so that your decision is informed and based off of the facts and engineering and, you know, all these great things, because I think we all want the best for our community. So please let me know. I also put my direct contact for you to continually communicate with me.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll definitely do that, but I think we lost in the chat. Could you just repeat that real quick and we'll write it down? Andy, why don't you write that down? Okay, write down whatever.
It's in the chat. I'll chat it. Right. Do you know how to use the chat function?
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff in the chat.
I'll type it again.
Type it again. Go ahead.
Can we save that?
Oh, take a picture of it. Okay,
You
great.
can no. You can just download it from the chat onto your computer.
Okay.
It's okay.
We're all old here.
Oh, I can save chat. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
It's right here.
We are all old. Who said they're almost 60? That's young
Or
for
you
this.
can also chat me your email and I will email this to you.
Chat an email. Go ahead. Chat an email. Put down your email. Good.
Okay.
Whatever. We're young.
So,
He's young.
Alan,
happy
I
to
have
help.
seen you raise your hand. Do you want to share?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Alan from UEA. I'd just like to add that I agree with a lot of people with about the community space being used, that it should be available to the public. One of the things that we talked about in the first workshop was having a shared space, kind of like WeWork, so public working spaces where offices have their own space. UE would have their own space. All the organizations will have their own space. But then there are community areas common areas where you can sign up for, where you can have meetings, where you have larger event spaces where you can sign out for any group to use for whatever purposes that they may need it for. So I think it's important that the additional space that we may be adding onto the building be as versatile as possible to be used for public events or events within the groups and so on. And those things can be managed as a group, maybe the sign-up sheets or so on, managed by whatever method DCAS seems appropriate. But I think versatility is very important that we should build into it.
Do you have like any preferred choices on this 16?
Within the, I would say, community resource center, I guess I would, again, versatility. So I would agree with other people on health and wellness center, and I guess community resource center, arts and cultural hub. I know it's supposed to pick two, but
okay.
Versatility would be important, that you could apply to any of those. You can use it for any of those functions.
Thank you. Jen?
Judy, can you explain again, what is the health and wellness center? focus on?
Yeah, of course. I can, in case they're not, I can go back that you guys understand more about each scenario.
So we have the health clinic just a block away.
Yeah.
So why?
The Charles B. Wang Clinic?
Yeah.
I think health and wellness centers will not only care about the physical health, it will also be like the mental health and like the well-being centers offering service. So, and a physical like clinic may be included, but it's not like out of the health and wellness centers options.
I mean, even with mental health, there are other community organizations such as Hamilton Madison House that it plays a leading role in mental health in the Asian community. So I'm not saying that is not a good idea, but because we have limited space, right? And if we have other services in the surrounding or near area that provides this kind of service, we should utilize the space at 70 Mulberry for services that are not already available per se.
Okay. Thank you. Jen, I think you raised hand.
Oh no, I already spoke. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you mean
Carolyn?
a wellness? Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to share? Carolyn?
Yes. My understanding is that in order to avoid the ULURP, that there's a certain height that the building can go up, whether it would be totally new construction or if it was utilizing the 2 existing ground floors and going up on top of that. You're still having to do you're allowed a certain amount of FAR to go up in order to avoid the ULURP. Is that correct?
You have to live within your zoning envelope, whatever, if it's commercial, industrial, whatever its use is, there's each block and lot have a certain like requirement. And so that's what you have to live within that envelope.
Right, but that would be the same whether it was totally new construction or you're using the 2 existing ground floors to go up, right? The building is going to be the same height in order to avoid ULURP.
Yes, I think that's what Chinatown's architect had shown in his video.
Yeah, no, but I think that the other group that's demanding totally new construction, they think they're going to get a bigger building. And that's, in order to avoid the ULURP process, which will drag this process out a lot longer. Okay.
Let me be clear.
Height restriction.
Let me be clear. The one thing that I can speak to some certainty because I'm an attorney, is that no, we recognize that our group wishes to go up to the maximum height without ULURP. We do not wish to do the ULURP process. So whatever that maximum height would be, and we recognize that a demo and a full rebuild versus utilizing the existing foundation would both are the same as far as ULURP goes. There's no difference.
Right. Got it. You're not going to get a bigger building because you're doing all new construction.
Correct. We're interested in speed as a primary factor. Cost would be nice. We were under the impression that demo and rebuild was much faster. We recognize we might be wrong. We recognize that. We don't know.
It's also cheaper to save the existing building.
We don't know. We just don't know that. We're not experts.
I know that.
I think maybe it looks terrible with the old red brick and the ground floor and second floor, third floor. But what about the top floor? You're gonna put a glass window or you're gonna use a brick material? Do you have a plan for that? If it's a glass window on top of an old building, it looks terrible. it will look terrible. You know, I'm in the real estate business for 35 years. You know, I have a little experience for review. I understand the foundation, keep the old foundation, you put an underpin for every couple of feet to build high on an old foundation. This is what you have to do. You have to put an underpin for every few feet, vertical beams to support additional floor on the top. To me, it looks ugly.
Fair enough. I'll put us back on.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I think it's a little premature to start talking about the cosmetic of the design yet. And I hope that we are able to design to still respect our history and our past and still build a beautiful new space for our building. So I hope that a designer will be able to build something that will accommodate that gentleman's taste. But going back to the exercise, I would like to put of my vote with the Arts and Culture Hub. And then I don't know if this falls under Community Resource Center, but something that I think is really necessary is a place where the community can represent themselves to the many visitors that we have in Chinatown. There are some attempts, for instance, the kiosk on Canal and Walker, but it isn't very welcoming and it's a difficult space to deal with. But I'm thinking this is a great use of in-between spaces where you don't really need that much space, but you can do programming where storytelling and arts programs, projects can be displayed where it actually gets into the history and the textures of Chinatown to both visitors and to reflect to community members themselves, and for people to get a deeper understanding and connection to our neighborhood. So I don't know if that falls under, but it's something, it's like visitor, like not like a welcome center, but kind of like that, but better.
Like a smaller version of like the tenement museum where people can buy a few books, see a couple exhibits and have like a walking tour of Chinatown or something.
Yeah,
like a map
kind of
showing
like that
the walk.
place. Yeah, where like you don't know, like you've just arrived to Chinatown as a visitor and you want to start your exploration of Chinatown somewhere. This
Like
would
a
be like the
visitor
place you start. Kind of like a visitor center, but like better because it
Then
would
shows where all the
offer,
restaurants are, right?
well, it's so that, you know, people have like an understanding of the basis of the neighborhood. And I'm not sure if, I'm not saying this should be manned or not, but this could be a place where it's like used in like use the foyer space, or like a place where it's like an in-between space that really couldn't be used by others, or it could be a bigger one if people want to really accommodate for more programming, because I could also see it being tied into like a gallery space. So like, you know, within Chinatown, we've ran community art spaces before, and we kind of also give guidance to people like, you know, exploring the neighborhood as well, because we're there talking about the neighborhood. So it could be something where it's like a part of a gallery and also a welcome center. But it could also be
a
very
source
flexible.
of income, right? You can have people like tourists donate money, and you could also have the different organizations sell merchandise or whatever.
Yeah, and like the walking tours, as you say, can be definite revenue generators for sure. But it can be flexible.
Can I just ask a question with all the 6 categories here? So
yeah.
CMP, you know, CMP is a learning center, right? Do they not fall under that?
I think they do.
Right, but
no, this is for the additional space. It says for your preference for any additional space.
Oh, this is for the additional space. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley. Sorry.
I just want to be clear. Our group votes for Art and Culture Hub. Art and Culture.
Yeah. We get 2, right?
Yeah.
Art and Culture Hub and a community resource center.
Yeah. You know, I live across the street from 605 East 9th Street that was a community center and an arts and culture hub. And it incorporated on 3 floors. It had an after-school program, it had artist lofts, it had a theater, it had gallery space, and it rented office space to nonprofits, as well as had meeting space for local nonprofits that didn't have an office. And it was like the hub for our community. It was like the heart of our community. In Loisaida, it was the only space between 14th Street, Houston Street, Avenue A to Avenue D that incorporated a wide swath of people and artists. And it is possible to have arts and culture and incorporate all these other entities into the building. They don't necessarily have to, you know, fight each other. If you look at what the Tenement Museum does, they have the store on the ground floor that promotes books, lectures, tours for the neighborhood. You know, they also have meeting space upstairs. But I think with what you're talking about with 70 Mulberry, it can incorporate so many of these different things. But the 5 groups that have been displaced need to be included in the planning for the new building and, you know, and the extension of the building, as well as looking at the possibility of how you can incorporate inclusivity, because it is possible. And it helps to revitalize your community. We have kids who talk about that they have no place to go now, that where they can meet. We have nonprofits that have no place to meet. You know, right now we're all constricted to Zoom. But at any rate, I think, you know, arts and culture is really important in terms of tying a community together, in terms of its history, in terms of its culture, and enriching people's lives in so many different ways. When you have dance, when you have the lion dance and the rehearsals for that, it's so much a part of Chinatown. You need that. You know, we all need to have culture incorporated into our community. And it offers so much to every one of us to do that. So I hope that, you know, arts and culture, as well as the Community Resource Center, Living and Networking, and all these other, you know, programs for seniors, they can all live in that building.
Amy, do you want to share the scenarios?
Hi, I agree with everybody in terms of the arts and cultural center, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone wants to share more on this, or we can go into the next step? Okay. So the next activity would be to think about the unique characters of 17 Mulberry Street. And we all know that it's been on surfacing as one of the biggest concerns of the community, that 17 Mulberry Street might lose its unique character and symbolism for the community through this rebuilding process. And we would like to know what exactly constitutes its unique characters and symbolism. So there's an example of a profile card that we imagine 17 Mulberry Street. It's about like make it into like a person things. So during the main stage of my life, I used to be a school, but 17 Mulberry Street now is home to 5 amazing nonprofit tenants. And we can think about the 17 Mulberry Street would be known in the community for like blah, 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 or it should be identified itself as blah, blah, blah. So that that us all create the examples together. So for knowing to bring to the community, what value or what options do you think that you can choose 2 options to let us know, like what do you think is your priorities on this, like the value? Either it would be the community, heritage, learning, inspiration, creativity, contribution, growth, or well-being. So what characters do you think it will be your 2 priorities? Anyone wants to go first?
I would like to say I would see it as a community because again, that's where the United Youth Association, that's where we meet and gather and to do different kind of activities and volunteers. So I definitely put it to community. Another thing is inspiration. Being part of the building, it kind of reminds me of the like different people that I have met do the program, and where I have like learn my leadership skill as well as meet different people, and it's really a home for us to know that there's a group of people here to help each other out and to spread the Chinatown. I would like the Chinatown environment kind of thing.
Shirley, do you want to share?
I think that I feel that 70 Mulberry Street is, I guess, a space for learning, because many Americans had come and they were in this building and they learned English, they learned how to be an American, and they also have now learned to care for their community. And as the community ages and Chinatown is kind of turning into kind of 2 different ends, either is the young folks or the seniors, because the vast families have moved out once they've moved beyond Chinatown, or some of them still live in Chinatown. But it's about how do we care for our community, and I think this building is learning about the different ways we learn. Learn through dance, learn through art, or learn through the stories of our ancestors. I guess I'm just picking one.
Okay. Anyone wants to go next?
I guess I'm going to go. I would say community and heritage. It provides younger people learning about their heritage. Like United East provides line dance, a lot of other cultural things that we provide to the youth. I believe Shirley said that a lot of the youth are moving away, but we provide programs to attract the youth back. We have people coming from all over the city coming to learn within our programs that we offer to the young kids about arts and crafts and line dance and martial arts and so on. So we help bring the community back together and learn about their heritage. So I would say community and heritage together.
Do you want to choose the second one?
Community and heritage, both.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of restrictive in a way because the community is really important, and so is learning, and so is creativity. And all of those things inspire people. They contribute to the community and they help the community to grow. I think one of the saddest things to do is to lose your identity and to become homogenized. And I think that's why it's really important to have a community that is creative and that does learn and that inspires people. All of those things. It's really hard to choose just two because to be creative is to grow and to use your imagination, but it also incorporates, usually involving your past, your history, your heritage, that all of these different things are expressed in one's creativity. And it gives a sense of well-being to your community, to have a sense of identity that's really nourished and amplified by contributions of creativity.
Thank you for sharing.
Carolyn, I'm on the same thinking there because they all connect. So it's very, very difficult to have to pick two.
Yeah, I agree, June. I would definitely say there's some massive Venn diagramming happening over here. Yeah. For instance, community and heritage are, inherently tied as, the reason why both residents and Chinese Asian Americans feel like Chinatown is their cultural home, whether or not they live in the area. So that is tied. I don't know if you can put my vote for in between. And also heritage and creativity are also tied. For Think Chinatown, we've used the space at 70 Mulberry for poetry readings where we had Tang Dynasty poetry translated into English, but also emerging poet, API art, poet. So it's young and old art, contemporary and traditional art together. We've also had, performances of traditional Chinese dance, but then also modern theater. So, and all in the same space for the same audiences. So they're all melded for us, and that is the ethos of our practice.
So Judy, can we just put dots on all of them and just link it all?
Yeah, I will write it all and to
yeah,
begin with this
I think not just the Asian community for me. I guess I'm a little bit older than many that's on this chat right now. But just the thought of 70 Mulberry itself, going back over 100 years, and the various wave of immigrants that came through this building, is so impactful. All right, there's such richness there. And when I look at the word inspiration, the one thing I thought of was, back when United East first started with our summer youth program, United East, there's no paid staff at United East, first and foremost. Everyone there are volunteers. So when we started with the summer youth program, we had volunteers. We were very fortunate one year where we got a funder who gave us $10,000. We were so happy. And so we said, we got to do something with this money. And we said, you know what, we're going to give all the volunteers a little stipend just to thank them, even if it was for their subway or whatever. But this was given to them at the end of the program. Well, it brought tears to my eyes when these volunteers handed the check back to us. And they said, we didn't do it for the money. I mean, from that moment, right, I was so inspired by these young people. And some of these young people who were in the program as students are now back. So when I look at the word inspiration, right, and I'm sure with all the different groups, there's something there that will inspire you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So it's very difficult when you look at these 8 boxes to have to pick 2. It doesn't do any justice to any of them if we had to just pick 2.
Yeah, I struggle with the same issues. For me, when I think about 70 Mulberry, I think about the various immigrant groups that came through. So it's not just, you know, as June was mentioning, it isn't just Chinese Americans, but there were waves of Italian Americans, Russian, Polish, Jewish, you know, people, so many different kinds of people came through. And so the building was important, not just for Chinatown, but Chinatown was, you know, a home to various different immigrant ethnic groups. So, you know, and I brought up, you know, the quote from Feichu Matsuda, who had said that the building is an artifact itself for meriting historical preservation, right? This is an important building. So heritage is definitely key, but so is community, because so many generations of family members and community members went through and learned about American values and learned to speak English there. And that laid the foundation for them to go to other, you know, to do higher education. If we're talking about, you know, the past history of 70 Mulberry, it's there. But if we want to talk, when we want to talk about what 70 Mulberry means for the future, certainly community and heritage, but also creativity and inspiration, because it is, you know, we do, as we mentioned, we do not have an affordable space for the arts, you know, in the area. So definitely creativity has to have its little dot.
Thank you. Anyone wants to share more on this? Okay. So the next one, I think a lot of people have mentioned the identity and the culture in this area. So to the culture that shown in the area, how would you describe 17 Mulberry Street's identity? There are Chinese American, immigrant, American, Asian American, a New Yorker, or others. I would like everyone to choose two options and tell me like why and the reason why you choose this.
Again, it's really impossible to parse out like only two, because where 70 Mulberry sits is part of the greater New York story. It's part of the greater American story, because we're dealing with different waves of immigration groups, because we're part of China, it's part of Chinatown, right? And that's where the first wave of Chinese Americans got educated. So it's part of the immigrant experience, the New York experience, the Chinese American experience, which is part of the Asian American experience, which is part of the American experience. So I have to object to just choosing two of these. It's kind of silly.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Same
Yeah,
sentiments from June. The same sentiments.
Okay.
Maybe we should have it more multicultural, because when I was in school at 130, it was, you know, we were half Italian, half Chinese, and there's as Ava mentioned, you know, the question is whether or not how we as Asian Americans are portraying ourselves to outsiders, because the reason Chinatown exists is because of the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act. And you know, it was a bachelor society, and now the question is, now we're going into a modern community. How do we? But it's also a very insular community, which is kind of very inwardly looking. So the question is, how do we can be inwardly looking, address the tenants, but also be outwardly looking? Is how do we get to the future where we teach others about our culture and heritage without being all about ourselves?
As an Italian man who married an Asian woman, I completely agree with everything that has been said. And by the way, my crowd left me. So, it's all good, right? It's all good.
I guess we said something they didn't like, huh?
I was trying to keep the peace. I tried.
Thank you. Anyone has comments on this?
I agree that it's very difficult to choose just two. And I think, you know, the building incorporates so many different things. It does incorporate the immigrant experience. It's very much a part of the Chinese American experience, the Asian American experience, and very much a part of being a New Yorker. So how can you just choose two?
I vote for changing the other square to all of the above and then putting all of our votes there.
Good suggestion, Yin.
Yeah.
Subvert the system. Oh, by the way, Ed, I just sent an email with all, I just sent an email to Andy. So he should have all of the links. So I hope you get it. Okay. Please write me back after you get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone has more comments on this, or any opinion or thoughts that you think that I should deliver to the authority? Okay. So the next step to 17 Mulberry Street has the unique characters because of its you can choose options or multiple options if you like, and let me know the reason of it. So it would be the first one is overall visual aspect and physical features of the building and the service offered by the tenants, or the service quality of the facade and long-standing historical connection with the community, or other if you imagine more or have anything you can add with. Or you can say "oh" again, then I can type it out.
I would vote for all.
I agree. I would vote for all.
Same here, ditto.
Okay.
Sure.
Maybe
I think what might have been a little bit more helpful is if it was more of a weighted question rather than only being able to choose one option. As a facilitator's note.
Is there any other unique characters you want to address rather than this 4 or 5?
So the one I'm thinking of is the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
The staircase, but that's not what I want to. This is burned in my memory of doing all the stairs.
You go there as a kid and run up and down the stairs?
It's like always carrying stuff up and down the stairs. That's all I remember. But I'm not saying that's what I want to keep as a memory for the future of 17 Mulberry.
There will be elevators.
No, but that staircase really is a thing, right?
Yeah.
I think most of us can remember the first time we walked up that staircase. I mean, I was flooded with just the ghosts of so many generations of my family members who as children like just ran up and down those stairs.
Stair is amazing. We should keep the stair.
Yeah. But I mean that like that feeling of dread when you're carrying up like cases of things. That's what I remember. But yeah, that stairway is definitely like architecturally an interior feature that I think is very distinctive. You know, the color of that, even that railings in the space, and just like how good it goes around, and you know, I don't know, that's, you know, something that's in my memory.
I agree with everyone saying that the stairs are very iconic. All the stairs, the individual steps are dished out from everyone walking up the stairs. If it would be possible to incorporate elements of the stairs into the new design, that'd be great. To take parts of the stairs and put it in some way as a memorial to the old building, that would be great.
Your kid is cute, Alan.
Get him into community engagement early on. Good job.
He's already involved. Warren.
He was born into the organization. We were looking for, he went to the organization multiple times a week ever since he was born. So we're looking forward to the new building and bringing him back there too.
He might be 5 or 6 by that time.
We can always hope.
Whatever stairs are there, he'll start wearing away at those stairs. He'll be the new generation.
Anyone wants to share more on this? Okay. So it's almost the end of the community meeting. So there are some like new next steps for you. Just want to let you know we are here, and our next steps will be the report from 3x3. But as you know, all this process will not be the end as because the representative said today. And what you can do for next steps is please complete the survey by 15th of November so that we can collect and organize all of your thoughts and opinions on this. So you can access via registration form or either a follow-up email. It will be a follow-up email to everyone. Also, we would like you to submit any additional documents through the registration form. If there is any questions or any idea come out of your mind, it's always we are always happy to receive it from the email of 3x3 or either just upload from the registration form. And yeah, thank you for today.
Thank you, JD.
Thank you.
Thank you for facilitating.
Thank you.
Thank you for facilitating. I do have some notes for facilitation, Judy. Not to keep everyone else, but something that I've realized is quite an issue is that we should be understanding why people are making their options, not just which option they're selecting. Because today, as we've learned from Ed and community leaders in that room, some of them may be making their choices based off of misinformation. So maybe it's good while you're doing the survey to not only be like, why, like, you know, I am choosing this option because, or I am prioritizing like speed versus, you know, who wants to be slower, but, you know, or I'm prioritizing maximizing the FAR according to the current ULURP. I think stepping back one step to understand people's motivations for getting to their decision might be helpful in reaching community consensus rather than having us jump to these conclusions that are not based off of unified resource of information. And I also think it's actually kind of dangerous and divisive how that has been set up, this dichotomy, to give us these choices without giving us the right information. And so I'm a little bit nervous about the next step in the process. So I just really want to voice that as a facilitator's note, both to you and to DCAS, because I'm not sure 3x3 will be with us in the next step of community engagement, right? It's not. Are you contracted for the next step after December?
I am actually not sure, but we our community visioning process will end at mid-December.
Yeah, because Quentin said that there'd be more community engagement touch points, but it's not necessarily through 3x3. So if you can include that in your notes to them. Okay. I will write a note to Priyanka, as I always do.
Thank you.
Nice spending time with everybody. Thanks, Ed, for convening the boys and girls club.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
It was more fun when the crowd was here, right?
They left you.
They left me. What can you do?
Hey, Ed, what's your email?
Mine is, I'll give you my personal email. It's my name, Edward J. Kucha at yahoo.com. So it's that right there, you can see it. Edward J with a J in the middle, and then CUCCIA at yahoo.com.
At Yahoo. Old school.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
Right.
I'm an old school guy. Yeah.
I'm still on Yahoo. Don't pick on us.
No, that's vintage. Vintage is cool.
I got a Hotmail.
Vintage. I said season.
Even better.
Who said they're 60 years old here and they're old, or 60 years old and young? I didn't catch that.
Hey, I still have AOL. Ha.
So Yin, have they hired any architects or engineers? I mean, what's the process? Is it we just visioning and then?
No, I think Judy, I don't know why I'm supposed to answer this, but no, I don't believe architects have been chosen. And I don't know if people caught what I was saying yesterday, is there have been renderings floating around done by a young architect who I think was just volunteering his time and trying to be helpful, but that is not at all under the direction of anybody at all or representative of anybody's vision besides his own personal one. And I do think it is dangerous putting those types of that high fidelity of rendering at this time. I think massing models are great at this time for us to understand the possibilities, or even interiors, kind of like understanding of how like shared use of space can be. Like these types of exercises for us to understand as a community and visualize is important. I agree, but that type of fidelity of rendering it just looks too real, and it puts a vision in people's heads that is not at all correct. Like there was a gentleman in your group that was complaining about how the glass would look terrible on top of an old building, and I mean I just don't want these images to be put out there. But something that we would like to do, I mean, because Think Chinatown is a nonprofit and our focus is on community engagement for Chinatown to make sure all of our voices are being heard, is we'd like to put together a short list of Asian American architects that we think do good work and do that work, that homework. We're a nerdy group. We like doing this type of homework.
But don't they have to be in the DCAS process, and then they have to team up with engineers, and then they have to be able to have the bonding capacity
all of
and
that.
bid it and all that fun stuff?
Correct. So it's not saying that it at all will be the ones chosen, but we can at least kind of put forth like a vision, because I feel pushed to do that because of these renderings, that there might be like leanings to like selections by other groups without.
But also maybe the question is there going to be criteria in the selection of who gets to select, and if there is an internal process, they have pre shortlisted a bunch of people. I mean, how does that all?
Doesn't the city have priority for minorities and women-owned businesses?
Only like a 30% set aside. It depends on the different agencies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if Judy has more specific answers, but in our experience with the Gateways to Chinatown project, right, there was a competition. I don't know if this would be done in competition form, but usually there's an open bid format so that anybody can apply. So it would be more like who, so it is open, but I think what is the most important for us is to who is the one making the criteria for the competition. The one for the Gateways to Chinatown project, I'm afraid
My
that
gut feeling
did
it won't
not
be a
go well.
competition. It's
Yeah,
going to be probably either a brand new RFP, which will take longer, or people on their short list.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. I think the competition would take too long for this process. So that's why I think it's important to like put forth some ideas, at least think about criteria. I think criteria are going to be important, and how like putting forth criteria of how designers are selected are important. I know CCBA representatives put forth yesterday that they wanted it to be a Chinese, Asian American architect, which I don't know if that can be a specific
You can get a Maya Lin and she'll be uncompromising. So I don't know. It depends what you're gonna get.
So I mean, there. What is your criteria, right?
I shouldn't have said that. It's being recorded. I'm sorry.
Island would be amazing.
But
Honestly,
there's also a lot of need to listen as
I
a
think
community space.
Judy, what did you say, Judy?
No, I was gonna say, honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure about the answer, but I will write it down and then report back to my supervisor of all of your questions. And I really encourage all of you to write either email or letter to 3x3, so we can make sure all of things are being written down and being recorded. And I think the people in 3x, all of us will try to help you and answer the questions.
Judy, can you drop into the chat the web page that you guys are making to share all this information?
The web page, you mean like the
like
survey?
where all the resources are uploaded to? Priyanka was talking about how there's a website that they're creating for DCAS to be able to engage with the community. Is that up and running yet? I thought it was.
I'm not sure if they have it now, but I will ask it for you and email you back about this.
Would you send it to all of us?
Yeah. Can all of you leave
you know what?
email on?
I'll put it on the website, June.
Okay.
Okay.
See, this is what happens. We do the homework so you guys can see it all.
Great.
Okay. So we'll have it on the thinkchinatown.org/70-Mulberry. I'll write it here.
Okay.
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 Does everyone know the email of 3x3?
Is that the same one where I respond to Priyanka?
Yeah.
Yeah, then yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Nice
everyone.
seeing everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good
night.
night.
Thank you. Good night.